and gentlemen, please rise for the marching on of the colors and remain standing for the playing of the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. The horrific attacks of 9/11 altered the course of world history, robbed innocent families of loved ones, and showed the world why the United States of America stands as a beacon of freedom. Today we are here to remember not only what was lost, but what was discovered. It's fitting year that on September 11, Americans joined together to honor the memory of the more than 3,000 people who died that day. It's fitting that we observe a moment of silence as tribute to those innocent lives cut short. It's equally important 23 years later that we remember how our country came together on that day. The political, racial, and economic friction spewed by the media disappeared. On that day, the heart of America beat united. We must remember how ordinary people living ordinary lives reacted with extraordinary heroism in the face of chaos and fear. On September 11, 2001, we saw amazing Americans risk everything against insurmountable odds to help total strangers. First responders, friends, fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters rushed in to help rescue fellow citizens from the North Tower, South Tower, and Pentagon. The passengers aboard United Airlines Flight 93 confronted armed terrorists, forcing it to crash in the Pennsylvania farmers' field. All of these extraordinary heroes willingly sacrificed themselves to save the lives of people they would never get to meet. We witnessed these selfless acts and were awe of their heroism and the incredible price of their sacrifice. In memory of their actions, let us embody their duty and selflessness in love. Ladies and gentlemen, in honor of those brave Americans lost in 9/11, we will now present 5 memorials. The first memorial is in honor of the Americans that perished or that were injured in the North Tower at 8:46 on September 11, 2001. American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center. This instantly killed hundreds of Americans and trapped many more. In their honor, we will place flowers in their memory. The flowers are being placed by Irondale's own Mayor Stewart. Mayor Stewart is escorted by Cadet Staff Sergeant Mackenzie Barclay. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember American Airlines Flight 11 and those lost in the North Tower. The second memorial is another bouquet of flowers. These flowers are in honor of the lives lost when United Airlines 175 crashed to the 77th floor of the South Tower 18 minutes after the North Tower was attacked. With both towers ablaze and still standing, we remember Americans holding hands and leaving from the buildings to escape the flames. We remember the shattering innocence as we realized America was under attack. We remember the pictures on the news as families desperately searched to find information about lost loved ones. Most importantly, we must remember the resolve of the American people, the fighting spirit which shook the world as we tracked down those responsible, rebuilt New York City, and showed the whole world the true soul of the American people. We shall never forget. These flowers are being placed by Mr. Sahan. Mr. Sahan is the principal of Shadesboro High School and is being escorted by Cadet Staff Sergeant Carmen Seals. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember United Flight 175 and those lost in the South Tower. Our third memorial will be a set of dog tags. These dog tags are honoring the military personnel and civilians that were killed on American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon. In this attack, there were 64 passengers and 125 military personnel that lost their lives. With this third attack, the terrorist plan became clear. If they could irreparably destroy the symbol of our economic power and military power, they might cause the total collapse of our way of life. They failed, and we emerged from the ashes strong and united. We shall never forget. Dog tags will be placed around this memorial in honor of the military personnel and civilians that were killed during the Pentagon attack. The dog tags are being hung by Sergeant Howard Cook of the Marine Corps Recruiting Station in Birmingham, Alabama. He's being escorted by Cadet Sergeant Shiloh Carmichael. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember those of American Airlines Flight 77 and all the military services lost when they crashed into the Pentagon. The fourth memorial will be a bouquet of flowers in honor of the heroes and passengers that were aboard United Airlines 93. Having heard from loved ones about the attack on the Twin Towers, these anonymous heroes band together to take their plane back from the hijackers who tend to strike a symbol of our government. These hijackers grossly underestimate the heroism and selflessness of the everyday loving American. Famously, one of the final cell phone calls made from a passenger on the flight ended with, "Let's roll." Then a small group of passengers and flight attendants, strangers to each other, rushed the hijackers to take the flight deck back. Their selfless act prevented the hijackers from reaching their intended target and saved an unknown number of lives. Flight 93 crashed to an empty field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. There were no survivors. We shall never forget. Dr. Eugene Dallas, who was the principal of Clay Chocolate High School, will now place flowers in their honor of those lost on Flight 93. Dr. Eugene Dallas is being escorted by Cadet First Lieutenant Inia Das. Please join me in a moment of silence as we remember those of United Flight 93 in honor of the courage and bravery of the passengers. Our last memorial recognizes the first responders whose selflessness shall be forever remembered as one of the greatest demonstrations of service this world has ever witnessed. Courageous firefighters, police officers, and medical personnel, without hesitation, sacrificed everything to save complete strangers. These brave men and women rushed headlong into two towering infernos in the Pentagon with complete disregard for their own safety. These humble heroes sought only to save Americans. They placed the victims' families and futures ahead of their own lives and dreams. Many of those that survived continue to suffer from the effects of PTSD and debilitating diseases. We must ask ourselves, could we honor their legacy by acting in similar fashion such horrific attacks ever befall us again? Are we able to serve our fellow citizens and possibly risk everything with our actions? We shall never forget. Sergeant Lewis and Lieutenant Kellogg from the Irondale Police Department and Chief McDaniel from the Irondale Fire Department will now hang their respective items in honor of the first responders that paid the ultimate sacrifice and to the ones that continue to serve today. These brave officers are being escorted by Corporal Jalen Monroe. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a moment of silence to honor the first responders and fellow citizens we lost on 9/11 23 years ago.